Huh? Subhanallah. طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Last night we were explaining a hadith regarding prohibited times. Times in which the prayer is prohibited. Times in which the prayer is not allowed to be made, or at least times in which it's disliked to make prayer. We begin discussing what the ulama of Islam agree on and what the ulama of al-Islam disagree and differ and argue over regarding this issue. We said that Nawawi rahimahullah said that the ulama of Islam unanimously agree is that a prayer that has no specific reason should not be done during these times. The prayer that is not that sabab should not be made during these times. They unanimously agree on that. Point number 2. He says, وَاتَّفَقُوا عَلَى جَوَازِ الْفَرَائِدِ الْمُؤَدَّاتِ فِيهَا. And they unanimously agree, he says, the opposite, a very important technique of learning and studying, especially fiqh, is to learn forward and then reverse. Forward, reverse, reverse, and forward. All right? Front and back. Offense, defense. Simultaneously, at once. They agree on this unanimously. They agree on the impermissibility of this unanimously. It makes it easier. And then between you can make the finely tuned issues. This is where it's actually different. This is where the khilaf is. Not here, not there. You minimize things. He says, and they also agree on the permissibility of making the fard prayers, the mandatory prayers during those times. During those times. When a person has to make those prayers, not making them up, but is actually performing them during those times. There's a difference between al-qada and al-ada, right? Al-qada is when you miss the prayer and you're making it up. Al-ada is when it's actually time. Let's say, for example, person started praying before the sun was beginning to set. Naam? Person started making salah before it was the prohibited time, the third or the fourth rak'ah, as an example. The first and the second was clearly before that time. For whatever reason, he delayed the prayer, whatever the reason is. Whatever the reason what may be, but it's still ada. And it's not qada. It's qada in which the time is gone. You've overslept, you were unconscious, whatever the case is. Everyone understand the difference between qada and ada? Tayyib. He says here, point 3, وَاخْتَلَفُوا فِي النَّوَافِلِ الَّتِي لَهَا سَبَبٌ. And the point of their differing is the nafila, the prayer which is not obligatory, the extra prayer, which has a specific reason. And not just a specific reason, but a specific time and place and reason. All three. Time, place, and reason. Like coming into the masjid. The time is before you sit down. The reason is to sit down. And the place is in the masjid. All three are included in that. كَصَلَاتِ تَحِيَّةِ الْمَسْجِدِ. When you enter the masjid and it's a class going on, and the class is after Asr, what do? Can you make the 2 rak'ah and then sit down in the class? Or you just stand up? Or do you just sit down? Clear on this? He says here, وَالسُّجُودِ التِّلَاوَةِ. And when you come across a verse in the Quran al-Kareem, which you're supposed to prostrate, and it's after Asr, between Asr and Maghrib. You've made Asr already. It's after Salat al-Fajr, right? Before sunrise. Or before the adhan for Dhuhr sometime, before the sun has reached the middle. We're clear on this? Salat, he says, what shukr, and thanking Allah. You get a letter in the mail that you've been accepted to this university, and it's 10 minutes before Maghrib, or 15 minutes before sunrise. Or you get a phone call, a text message that the father of the girl has accepted you, even though you're not from their race. I'll allow you to marry my daughter, even though you're Guyanese and we're from what? Yemen. Everyone understand this? And you're happy and you want to thank Allah for that. So do you make the sujood right now? Or you say, wait till after Maghrib? طيب. He says, وَصَلَاةِ الْعِيدِ. Eid, the Eid prayer. And obviously this issue is based off of another issue, and that is, what's the ruling on Salatul Eid? Is Salatul Eid fard, or is it considered sunnah? Or is it considered fard ayn, or is it considered fard kifaya? Wal-Kusuf, the eclipse. What happens if the eclipse is during what? One of these times. وفي صلاة الجنازة, the janazah prayer. وقضاء الفوائد, and making up prayers, whether it is a mandatory prayer or a recommended prayer that you missed out on. You understand the difference? Qada of anything which is fawaid, missed. What do you do during these times? Because all of these mentioned prayers, these examples, all of them have a what? A specific sabab, a specific reason. And it's not just a nafl al-mutlaq or a tatawwu al-mutlaq, in which a person just says, I want to pray to Allah. I'm in the mood to pray. These are my extra rak'ats that I make. I'm praying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That doesn't have a specific sabab. طيب. He says, وَمَذْهَبُ الشَّافِعِي وَطَائِفَةٍ جَوَازُ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ. He says, as far as Imam Shafi'i's view, and another group of scholars, then all of that is permissible. All of those things are what? Totally permissible. Bila karaha. There's nothing disliked about it. Huge difference between something being permissible but being disliked at the same time, and between something being absolutely what? Permissible. Nothing is makruh. You come in a masjid, it's 20 minutes before Maghrib, make the 2 rak'ah, sit down. It's not what? Disliked at all. The janazah can be scheduled 20 minutes before Salat al-Maghrib. Nothing wrong with that, what? At all. As an example, obviously burying someone at night is a different discussion. Is it permissible to make the janazah at nighttime? That's a different discussion. We're just mentioning an example. وهكذا. He says, وَمَذْهَبُ أَبُو حَنِيفَةَ وَآخَرِينَ أَنَّهُ دَاخِلٌ فِي النَّهْيِ لِعُمُومِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. As far as Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and other fuqaha times envelops the proofs for those other prayers. And Shafi'i holds the opposite view. Don't sit down until you make 2 rak'ah is general. And that generality envelops and swallows and engulfs the generality of no prayer after Asr until the sun sets. Everyone understand this? Everyone understand this? This is general. No prayer after Asr until the sun sets. That's what? General. Don't sit down until you make 2 rak'ahs. That's what? General. So Shafi'i says, and Abu Hanifa and others say what? The opposite. The generality envelops the other one. Everyone understand this? There's 2 types of generality we have here. Everybody understand this? And it's a prime example of why and how the ulama of Islam differ on certain issues. And that these differences, or this differing, does not necessitate for them to be called astray. And all of them here, in this issue, when I'm talking about every other issue, in this issue, they're clearly, both of them, both sides are using the what? The sunnah, the dalil, both of them. So that's another point. When it says, oh, I'm on the sunnah, or this masjid is on the sunnah, and they're not on the sunnah. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Are you understanding this? Them to blatantly disregard and leave off the way of Prophet ﷺ, one thing. For them to be on a specific school of thought of an imam that based his view off of what he thought was the correct sunnah. Different story. Are you understanding this? Different what? Different story. Let alone maybe something that they don't believe is obligatory. And it is the sunnah to do it, whether it's obligatory or not. But they don't believe that they're getting sinned by leaving it off, by praying with a sutra. Praying with a sutra. Most of the ulama of Islam, the large majority have the view that it is not obligatory. Some of the ulama of Islam have quoted ijma'. There is consensus that the sutra is not obligatory in a prayer. So for you to come along and say that whoever does not use a sutra is not on the sunnah, and he's astray and he's not Salafi and so on and so forth, is clearly problematic. Even though you could believe that. And the sunnah is to pray with the sutra, whether it's obligatory or not. But you cannot make a view in which they're saying it's consensus. Not saying that that's true, but and how many issues like this have we explained, right? So it's very important as a student of knowledge to behave and to conduct himself in a specific manner. In a specific manner. Encourage the people to do good. Encourage the people to implement the sunnah, to learn it. And not always to get into the concept of you have to do it. It's a must to do it. You got to do it. Because it's not always that simple and that easy. طيب. He says here, واحتج الشافعي وموافقوه بأنه ثبت أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قضى سنة الظهر بعد العصر وهذا صريح في قضاء السنة الفائدة فالحاضرة أولى والفريضة المقضية أولى وكذا الجنازة وهذا مختصر ما يتعلق بجملة أحكام الباب وفيه فروع ودقائق. He says the Shafi'i rahimahullah and the scholars who agree with him, the proofs that they use was that the Prophet ﷺ, he made the sunnah of dhuhr that he missed. He made them up after Asr. He missed the sunnah of dhuhr and he made him up when? After Asr. So it's either 2 or 4 rakahs that he made when? After Asr. He says there's a clear evidence of the Prophet ﷺ making up the missed sunnah. Making up the what? The missed sunnah. So if it's permissible to make up the missed sunnah during this time, he says, then even more is the making up the? No, the current sunnah. Such as? The current sunnah, such as, Asr is only one period of time, such as Tahiyyatul Masjid. Whereas most of the ulama from them, Shafi'i, no, we do not consider that to be obligatory. Once more, the Prophet, he made up what? According to this, the missed sunnah of dhuhr after Asr. He says that's a clear proof that it's permissible to make up a missed sunnah during this time of prohibition. So if it's a clear proof to make up the missed prayer or the missed sunnah during the time of prohibition, then even more permissible is to make up or to make the what? The current sunnah, such as Tahiyyatul Masjid. According to that view, most of the ulama of Islam hold the view that Tahiyyatul Masjid is not fard, just like the sutra. And there are thousands of issues like that, which things have been thrown down your faces. You have to do this is obligatory, and if you don't, it's bid'ah. And when you actually study fiqh and read the kalam of the ulama, you say, whoa, something's wrong now. 99.9 of them said that it's sunnah. That 0. whatever percent may be right, but something's wrong. And what you're saying that 99% of the people are innovators and astray. It's a problem. Are you understand this? It's a what? Huge problem. And what you base your dawah, forcing people to issues of ijtihad, that's bad enough, let alone in which the majority is clearly against you. Everyone understand this? Everyone understand this or not? So that's an example. Or another example of a sunnah prayer could be what? Janazah. Say that it's not wajib. Somebody has to do, but not everybody. Or another Eid. Those who say that it's not necessarily what? wajib. But that's more sticky of an issue. Because what's the Eid time? When is the latest you can make the Eid? But for argument's sake, exactly. And which many of the ulama, that the Eid is what? Wajib. Some of them say it's fard kifaya. Someone has to do it, not fard ayn. I'm not understanding this. Why that? Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala, or Nawawi, he says here, he says, and as well, he says, وَالْفَرِيضَةُ الْمَقْضِيَةُ أَوْلَى, and making up a missed prayer is even more permissible. A missed prayer, which is faridah. Faridah. Listen carefully, guys. First point is what? The first point was what? Is that the Prophet, the original dalil was the Prophet made what? He made up missed sunnahs. That's the dalil. Based off of that, there's a type of qiyas now. If he made up the missed sunnahs during the time of prohibition, then it only makes more sense for you to have the permissibility to make or to perform that's not missed. And if it's permissible to do that, then to make up the faridah that you've missed during the time of prohibition. A person wakes up late, it's 10 minutes before Salat al-Maghrib. If he's Hanafi, he's going to say, no prayer. Can't make Asr up. If he's Shafi'i, he's going to say, make up Asr, even though the sun is what? Getting rosier and rosier. Getting ready to set. Everyone understand any difference here? Everyone understand the difference? Tayyib. Nawawi rahimahullah, he says, and also the janazah prayer. He says this is a summary of the most important rulings of this chapter. He says, وَفِيهَا أو وَفِيهِ فُرُوءٌ وَدَقَائِقٌ, and they're all different sub-branches and daqa'iq, fine issues. And understand this? Not big main chunks like that, but what? Finely detailed issues of difference. And that's how you study fiqh. As a beginner, you learn the main issue with the proof, with the evidence, the one opinion, one school of thought, with the other ulama. And as you continue to study and mature and grow, you do what? You get what? Finer and what? Finer. A sifting process. Yes. Everyone understand this? A sifting process. And a sifting process is continual. You go sharper and sharper and sharper and sharper and sharper. The more you read, the more study, the more advanced you become. The more things you memorize, the more books you study, the longer you've been studying. Everyone understand this? He says, furu' wa daqa'iq. Furu', branches. And also what? Daqa'iq, things that are what? Subtleties. You understand this? So that, as you said before, there are levels to this. Is what? It's levels. You ripped right. It's what? It's levels. Tayyib. Moving forward. So let's go on to the next chapter, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Because as we just said, there are many other issues. We don't want to get into all of them right now. Tayyib. It says here, chapter number 54. باب معرفة الركعتين اللتين كان يصليهما النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد العصر. The prayers that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to make after the Asr prayer. Used to make after the what? The Asr prayer. Used to make when? After the Asr prayer. In other words, are these two rak'ah that he used to make, are they a sunnah for Asr? Or were they missed dhuhr sunnahs? If it was a sunnah for Asr, was it an absolute sunnah which he did all of the time? Or only occasionally? Because obviously this is going to be problematic with the last chapter once more. Clear on this? Hadith سلمة رضي الله عنها عن كريب عن ابن عباس والمسور بن مخرمة وعبد الرحمن بن أزهر رضي الله عنهم أرسلوه إلى عائشة رضي الله عنها فقالوا اقرأ عليها السلام منا جميعا وسلها عن الركعتين بعد صلاة العصر بقول لها إنا أخبرنا أنك تصلينهما وقد بلغنا أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عنهما. وقال ابن عباس وكنت أضرب الناس مع عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنهما أو قال عنهما. قال قال قريب فدخلت على عائشة رضي الله عنها فبلغتها ما أرسلوني فقالت سل سلمة فخرجت إليهم فأخبرتهم بقولها فردوني إلى سلمة بمثل ما أرسلوني به إلى عائشة. فقالت سلمة رضي الله عنها سمعت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ينهى عنها ثم رأيته يصليهما حتى أو حين صلى العصر ثم دخل وعندي نسوة من بني حرام من الأنصار فأرسلت إليه الجارية فقلت قومي بجنبه فقولي له تقول لك سلمة يا رسول الله سمعتك تنهى عن هاتين وأراك تصليهما فإن أشار بيده فاستأخري عنه. ففعلت الجارية فأشار بيده فاستأخرت عنه. فلما انصرف قال يا بنت أبي أمية سألتي عن الركعتين بعد العصر وإنه أتاني ناس من عبد القيس فشغلوني عن الركعتين اللتين بعد الظهر فهما هاتان. Is narrated by Qurayb. I was sent to Aisha radiallahu anha by Ibn Abbas. Al-Miswar bin Makhrama and Abdurrahman bin Azhar radiallahu anhum. They told me to greet her on their behalf and to ask her about the offering of the 2 rak'ah after Asr. And to say to her, we are informed that you offer those 2 rak'ah, and we were told that the Prophet ﷺ had forbidden offering them. Ibn Abbas said, I, along with Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, used to beat the people whenever they offered them. I went to Aisha radiallahu anha and told her that message. Aisha radiallahu anha said, go on and ask Salama about them. So I returned and informed them about her statement. They then told me to go to Salama radiallahu anha with the same question with which they had sent me to Aisha radiallahu anha. Salama radiallahu anha replied, I heard the Prophet ﷺ forbidding them. Later I saw him offering them immediately after he prayed the Asr prayer. He then entered my house at a time when some of the Ansari women from the tribe of Bani Haram were sitting with me. So I sent my slave girl to him, having said to her, stand beside him and tell him that Salama says to you, O Allah's Messenger, I have heard you forbidding the offering of these 2, but I have seen you offering them. If he waves his hand, then wait for him. The slave girl did that. The Prophet ﷺ beckoned her with his hand, and she waited for him. When he had finished the salah, he said, O daughter of Bani Umayyah, you have asked me about the 2 rak'ah after the Asr prayer. The people of the tribe of Abdul Qais came to me and made me busy, and I could not offer the 2 rak'ah after the Dhuhr prayer. These 2 rak'ah I have just prayed for those missed ones. Hadith 478. Hadith Aisha radiallahu anha قالت ركعتان لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعهما سرا ولا علانية ركعتان قبل صلاة الصبح وركعتان بعد العصر. Narrated Aisha radiallahu anha, Allah's Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم never missed 2 rak'ah before the Fajr and 2 rak'ah after the Asr prayer, openly and secretly. Openly and secretly. So we automatically see Hadith 477 and 478 have a clash between the 2. A clash. Salama says that the Prophet ﷺ said, I only made these 2 rak'ah after Asr because I was made what? Busy. He made them up. And Aisha radiallahu anha says, the Prophet ﷺ never left off these recommended prayers. 2 with regards to Fajr and 2 with regards to after Asr. So Salama is narrating the Prophet, he didn't have a sunnah after Asr. And Aisha is narrating hypothetically that there was a sunnah after Asr. Everyone understand the difference? Understand the difference? Tayyib. Everyone understand this or not? Tayyib. So inshallah ta'ala, there's a lot to break down. It's a lot to break down, and hopefully we'll take it piece by piece. Tayyib. As far as the main point, before we get into the fawaid of those hadiths, Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فيه فوائد منها إثبات سنة الظهر بعدها، ومنها أن السنن الراتبة إذا فاتت يستحب قضاؤها وهو الصحيح عندنا، ومنها أن الصلاة التي لها سبب لا تكره في وقت النهي، وإنما يكره ما لا سبب لها، وهذا الحديث هو عمدة أصحابنا في المسألة، وليس لنا أصح دلالة منه، ودلالته ظاهرة. فإن قيل فقد داوم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عليها ولا يقولون بهذا، قلنا لأصحابنا في هذا وجهان حكاهما المتولي وغيره، أحدهما القول به، فمن دأبه سنة راتبة قضاها أو فقضاها في وقت النهي كان له أن يداوم على صلاة مثلها في ذلك الوقت. والثاني هو الأصح الأشهر ليس له ذلك، وهذا من خصائص رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، وتحصل الدلالة بفعله صلى الله عليه وسلم في اليوم الأول. فإن قيل هذا خاص بالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قلنا الأصل الاقتداء به صلى الله عليه وسلم وعدم التخصيص حتى يقوم دليل به، بل هنا دلالة ظاهرة على عدم التخصيص، وهي أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم بين أنها سنة الظهر ولم يقل هذا الفعل مختص به، وسكوته ظاهر في جواز الاقتداء. ومن فوائده أن صلاة النهي مثنى مثنى كصلاة قال ومن فوائده أن صلاة النهار مثنى مثنى كصلاة الليل، وهو مذهبنا ومذهب الجمهور، وقد سبقت المسألة. ومنها أنه إذا تعارضت المصالح والمهمات بدأ بأهمهما، ولهذا بدأ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بحديث القوم في الإسلام وترك سنة الظهر حتى فات وقتها. طيب، Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, the fawaid pertaining to this hadith, from them is the affirmation of making sunnatul dhuhr afterwards. Secondly, is that when a person normally makes a sunnah prayer and he misses it, it's recommended to be made up. It is recommended for him to make it up. Point number 3, that the prayer that has a specific reason is not disliked to be made during the time of prohibition, like we previously explained. And then he goes on to say here, how about the fact that the Prophet ﷺ made those prayers all the time, such as the narration of Aisha. It's not like he just made up the sunnah of dhuhr that one time with Salama. Aisha, whom he visited, was his wife, clearly said that he always would do it. That he would what? Always would do it. So the 2 rak'ah after Asr, a standard sunnah, something to be made all the time, or of the 2 rak'ah after Salat al-Asr, something that the Prophet ﷺ only made up because he was made busy. Because he was made busy with that what? That delegation. Are you understand this? Nawawi rahimahullah, he discusses this issue and what the Shafi'is say regarding this issue. It's a very long, detailed discussion. What's important is for us to do now to know and to realize that it is an issue. And some of the people of knowledge, they say there is no recommended act after Salat al-Asr, period. And others, they say, rather, we take the hadith of Aisha over the hadith of Salama. And it's okay to make 2 rak'ah after Asr. Whether you do it every day or whether you do it abundantly from time to time. Everybody clear on this? Tayyib. That's the summary of that, right? That's the what? The summary of that issue. Tayyib. As far as some of the other fawaid pertaining to this hadith, Nawawi, he says first and foremost, and before we even go that far, he says, قال القاضي إنما قالت عائشة هذا لما روته أو لما لما روته من صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ركعتين بعد العصر. قال وما رواه عمر قد رواه أبو سعيد وأبو هريرة، وقد قال ابن عباس في مسلم أنه أخبره به غير واحد. قلت ويجمع بين الروايتين، فرواية التحري محمودة على تأخير الفضيلة إلى هذا الوقت، ورواية النهي مطلقة أو مطلقا محمولة على غير ذوات الأسباب. طيب, we don't want to go backwards. He says here, about how he was sent and the things that pertain to that. Giving salams to the people of virtue, verifying information, right? Going back to the horse's mouth, quote unquote, asking someone specific, those who made this statement, or the one who made this statement, having respect. All of these different issues here, huh? Even the hadith it says, إني أسمعك تنهى عن هاتين الركعتين ما أنا أسمعك سمعتك في الماضي ومن إطلاق لفظ المضارع لإرادة الماضي كقوله تعالى قد نرى تقلب وجهك. في هذا الكلام أنه ينبغي للتابع إذا رأى من المتبوع شيئا يخالف المعروف من طريقته والمعتاد من حاله أن يسأله بلطف عنه، فإن كان ناسيا رجع عنه، وإن كان عامدا وله معنى مخصص عرفه تابع واستفاده وإن كان مخصوصا إلى آخره. When the student or the follower or whoever, the subject, sees something from his leader or his teacher that is against his normal way, something which he's not used to seeing, how to ask and what to say when you ask. He clearly says, I hear you. And he never said, you did this, I hear you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my ears are mistaken. Tayyib. So first and foremost, hadith number 477. There's many different fawaid. From them is the permissibility of sending salams to a woman. The permissibility of sending salams to what? To a woman. Also, this goes to show us, and obviously that's not the Prophet ﷺ's action, that's what the companions did. We find here the companions disciplining people from going against the sunnah, cutting out the middlemen, going to the direct source like we just said, seeking the proper fiqh from a person of knowledge, right? And there are many other fawaid as well. Many other what? Fawaid as well. Tayyib. Chapter number 55. Says باب استحباب ركعتين قبل صلاة المغرب. مالك قال كان المؤذن إذا أذن قام ناس من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يبتدرون السواري حتى يخرج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهم كذلك يصلون ركعتين قبل المغرب ولم يكن بين الأذان والإقامة شيء. Chapter 55 says preference of offering 2 rak'ah before the Maghrib prayer. The preference of offering 2 rak'ah before the Maghrib prayer. 479 is narrated Anas bin Malik radiallahu anhu. When the mu'adhin pronounced the adhan, some of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ would proceed to the pillars of the mosque. So the Prophet arrived, and in this way they used to pray 2 rak'ah before the Maghrib prayer. There used to be very little time between the adhan and the iqamah. There used to be very little time between the adhan and between the iqamah. I know what he says in the sharh. وفي الحديث الآخر بين كل أذانين صلاة المراد بالأذانين الأذان والإقامة وفي هذه الرواية استحباب ركعتين بين المغرب والصلاة المغرب وفي المسألة وجهان لأصحابنا أشهرهما لا يستحب وأصحهما عند المحققين يستحب لهذه الأحاديث وفي المسألة مذهبان للسلف واستحبهما جماعة من الصحابة والتابعين من المتأخرين أحمد وإسحاق ولم يستحبهما أبو بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وآخرون من الصحابة ومالك وأكثر الفقهاء وقال النخعي هي بدعة وحجة هؤلاء أن استحبابها أو استحبابهما يؤدي إلى تأخير المغرب عن أول وقتها قليلا وزعم بعضهم في جواب هذه الأحاديث أنها منسوخة والمختار استحبابها لهذه الأحاديث الصحيحة الصريحة وفي صحيح البخاري عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال صلوا قبل المغرب صلوا قبل المغرب صلوا قبل المغرب قال في الثالثة لمن شاء وأما قولهم يؤدي إلى تأخير المغرب فهذا خيال منابذ للسنة فلا يلتفت إليه ومع هذا فهو زمن يسير لا تتأخر به الصلاة عن أول وقتها وأما من زعم النسخ فهو مجازف لأن النسخ لا يصار إليه إلا إذا عجزنا عن التأويل والجمع بين الأحاديث وعلمنا التاريخ وليس هنا شيء من ذلك والله أعلم. Listen carefully. Noe, he says, this shows us the recommendation of making 2 rak'ah between the adhan and the iqamah of Salat al-Maghrib. That is recommended when the adhan is made for Salat al-Maghrib to make 2 rak'ah. It's recommended to do that. He says, and there's a great difference of opinion among the ulama regarding this. Among the Shafi'i school, or the adherents of the Shafi'i school, let alone other scholars. As far as the Shafi'i way, the Shafi'i school of thought, then the first way, or the first opinion within the madhab, is that these prayers should not be made. The 2 rak'ah before Salat al-Maghrib should what? Should not be made. That's the most famous Shafi'i view. But the correct view within the madhab, he's not talking about other madhabs, he's just talking about the what? The correct view. What is the actual madhab Shafi'i? He says the correct one is that in the Shafi'i madhab that it is what? Recommended to make those 2 rak'ah. And understand this? طيب. Then he says, وَفِي الْمَسْأَلَةِ مَذْهَبَانِ لِلسَّلَفِ. Now outside of the Shafi'i madhab, it's the same 2 views. From the Salaf and those who came what? After the Salaf. And this goes to show you that the Salaf do not always what? Agree. So when you're saying this is the madhab of Salaf, and it's clear-cut difference of opinion, regardless whether it's right or wrong, you're clearly mistaken. You're clearly what? Mistaken. And the madhab of Salaf is one of 2 things. Only one of 2. Number 1, consensus. The ulama, the Sahaba, they never differed. The Sahaba, excuse me, they never differed. The Salaf, they never differed. All of them unanimously agreed, this is what's meant. That's clearly, you can clearly say this is what? هذا مذهب السلف. Number 2 is when most of them, النقل المستفيض, most of them, the vast majority, a large number of them did or said something and there was nothing else that was mentioned against it. Then you can say this is inshallah the what? As far as one person's view, this one did that, he did that, you can't say that. Let alone, you can't always necessarily depend on that when the Salaf themselves clearly. So whose madhab are we taking? 20% of the Salaf or 80%? 35% or 65%? 50-50, 40? Everyone understand this? It's not that simple anymore. He says there are 2 views. He says a large number of Sahaba and Tabi'een and later scholars held the view that it was recommended to make these 2 rak'ah. It was recommended to make these 2 rak'ah. From them was Imam Ahmad. And also Imam Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, that you should make these 2 what? Rak'ah. Listen carefully. Listen to this now. He says, as far as Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and other companions, Malik and most of the fuqaha, they said, do not make these 2 rak'ah. Ibrahim al-Nakhi said, from the students of Ibn Mas'ud, it says bid'ah. So look how problematic this issue is now. We mentioned who from the Sahaba? So the Khulafa al-Rashideen, they said don't do it. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said what? Do it. This issue, among many others, this is not my words, I'm quoting. This is one of the reasons why some people consider that hadith to be weak. Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashideen. This is weak. Some have the view that the hadith is not authentic. And that for that hadith to be of such paramount importance, not to be mentioned in more authentic books. So hold fast to my sunnah and the sunnah of the khulafa ar-rashideen. What happens when my sunnah is here and the way of the khulafa ar-rashideen is somewhere else? What are you holding on to? You understand or not? You got it or not? Let alone who are the Khulafa al-Rashidun? Only the 4? Radiallahu anhum? Or any rightly guided leader? Everybody understand this or not? So this issue here, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says what? Tells us to do what? Pray when? Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali say what? Clearly problematic or not? Extremely problematic. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. He says Imam Malik, who took from Ahl Medina. Ahl Medina were the Salaf Salih, without a question. That's the heart of the Salaf Salih, Medina, the Prophet ﷺ's city, where revelation was sent down. He says, in most of the ulama, they say that you should not make these 2 rak'ah before Maghrib. So much so that Ibrahim Nakhi said that they are what? Bid'ah. Nawawi, he says, and the proof of these people to say this is that when you make the 2 rak'ah before Salat al-Maghrib, it leads to delaying Salat al-Maghrib. You'll push the Maghrib back, and Maghrib should be made early as possible. Based off of the Hadith, they went outside, and if someone threw a spear or an arrow, they would what? See where it would land. That's their first proof. You guys with me or not? You sure? Islam, you with me? They said if you implement those 2 sunnahs, those 2 rak'ah, those sunnahs, you're going to push back what? Maghrib. Point number 2. And others, they say that these hadiths are abrogated and canceled. They're mansukha. They're no longer a ruling. At one point in time, it was what? A ruling, but no more. And the last and final ruling from the Prophet is to make Maghrib as soon as possible. Right. No, he says, his view, he says, wal-Mukhtaru. He says the correct view is that these 2 rak'ahs should be made. They should be what? Made. He says in Sahih al-Bukhari, the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, pray before Maghrib. Pray before Maghrib. Pray before Maghrib. The 3rd time he said that, he told the people what? Liman sha, for whoever wants to. Meaning that you don't have to, but you should strongly do so. Everyone understand this? He says here, so before we go on with Nawawi's words, this is a clear dalil. The hadith of the chapter in Bukhari and Muslim. And also what the Prophet ﷺ clearly what? Said. So it's a clear dalil here that these 2 rak'ahs should be made. He says, as far as those who say that it's going to lead to the Maghrib prayer being delayed, listen to this. He says, فَهَذَا خِيَالٌ مُنَابِذٌ لِلسُّنَّةِ. He says this is totally whack. Totally whack. Munabid is going against and contradicting the sunnah. Khayal, it's imaginative. It's something in their minds. It's not realistic at all. He says here, and that's because, he says, فَلَا يُلْتَفَتُ إِلَيْهِ. He says, you don't even pay attention to that statement. Don't even look towards it. Don't even lend your ear to anyone who says that. And that's because how much time did the 2 rak'ah make? How much time does it take? The mu'adhin makes the adhan, you make 2 rak'ah. How long is Maghrib being delayed? Everyone understand this? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Everyone understand this? Look what Nawawi says here. And that's Fulan said it from us. He says what? Sunnah and only what? Sunnah. You understand this or not? The Sunnah and what? Only the Sunnah. That is the absolute hujjah in al-Islam. Everything else is supporting. Ijma' has to be based off of Quran and Sunnah. Qiyas has to be based off of what? Quran and Sunnah. Fahm al-Salaf is the understanding of the Quran and Sunnah. What are they understanding except for the textual facts? Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, as far as those who say that it is abrogated and cancelled, for whom mujazif, he says it's even whacker. Totally out the window. He says, and that's because the qaida is that nothing is abrogated unless there are conditions. And the first condition is that we cannot harmonize between the texts. There's no way of us putting these 2 together, so we have to say that this one is now nasikh and the other one is mansukh. This was the last hadith. The Prophet canceled the previous ruling because there's no way we can take 2 authentic texts and they're still clashing. Everyone understand this? And the second condition is that we must know the date of the texts. When did the Prophet ﷺ say this and when did he say that? Is there a timeline on the hadith that says pray before Maghrib? No. Hadith doesn't say this was in the end of the hijrah, the beginning of the hijrah, when they still were in Mecca making salah. It doesn't say that. It says pray before Maghrib. And this is very common in fiqh madhabs. When the faqih doesn't take a view, or it doesn't suit the view that he has, oftentimes the followers, they'll say it's what? Mansukh. And there's no dalil stating that it's what? And even if there was a dalil, let's say for example, hypothetically speaking, there's no need for it to be mansukh when we can make tawfiq and jama', harmonize between the two. This is recommended and this is disliked. This is, it's not haram and halal, but it's just makruh. We can combine between the two. Are you understand this? So, that's food for thought. There's no these words here with regards to Khulafa al-Rashideen and anyone. It doesn't mean that Khulafa al-Rashideen said those statements. Doesn't mean that. Khulafa al-Rashideen, they may not have done it. They may have told the people not to do it. They may have prevented the people from doing it, whatever the case is. It doesn't mean that the Khulafa al-Rashideen said that it's what? Mansukh, or that it's going to push the prayer back. Everyone understand this? But for sure, it wasn't from the madhab of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. That's for sure. They didn't say that it was recommended. Was that their rationale? Maybe, or maybe not. Everybody understand this or not? That's not even from the uslub of the Khulafa al-Rashideen. That doesn't even sound, that's not how they talked. In most cases, that's coming from those other madhabis who said that it's mansukh, or said that it's going to push the Maghrib prayer what? Back. Everybody clear on this or not? Let alone the fact that no, we would never speak like that in light of any statement coming from the Khulafa Shura. Period. Evident. He would never do that. Everybody understand the difference? Everybody got this or not? But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Them or not, that's no always stance on that. Is that the strongest view is that it should be made when? Before Salatul Maghrib. Those rak'ahs should be made. So Hadith 479 teaches us many things. The first thing is that it's from the fahm of the Salaf and the understanding of the Salaf al-Salih to pray towards the sutra. To pray towards the sutra. And not to pray in the middle of the musalla. The narration clearly says, يَبْتَدِرُونَ السَّوَارِ. They would race, they would fight to be in front of the column of the masjid, the pillar, for the purpose of the sutra. So regardless whether the sutra is obligatory or not, it's definitely a good thing to what? To do. And this is the way that you get out of these different fiqh jams. Most of the ulama say it's recommended. So they say it's ijma'. All right, no problem. Is it a good thing to do it or not? Should we just be leaving it off? Oh, it's just a sunnah, brother. It's just a sunnah. Okay, it just is a sunnah for argument's sake. So why not? Why? When are you going to get closer to Allah? I understand this is the way of getting out of the fiqh jam. Because it's a jam. You're calling the people, you're saying da'wah, calling the people, the salaf al-salih, the ulama, so on and so on and so forth. And they're opening up a fiqh book and saying, it's consensus that it isn't obligatory, brother. Why are you forcing the people to do something? So you never force the people to do it. You encourage, you teach them, and you educate them to implement the way of what? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Regardless whether it is, you understand this? And the same applies to the beard, and isbal, and the thob, and niqab, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so forth. We don't necessarily have to fight on is it obligatory or not. You have the ability to do it, do it. It's getting you closer to Allah or take you further from Allah. Which of the two? You guys paying attention? Who's going to argue with that? Everybody clear on this? Wisdom, hikmah, huh? Beating people aside the bat, forcing them things that you haven't studied properly is only going to lead to ruin. And that is exactly what has happened in the United States. Everybody clear on this? So that's the first point. Another point is, it says, حَتَّى يَخْرُجَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, until the Prophet will come out. The Imam coming to the masjid and the people waiting for the Imam to come to the masjid and not rushing to establish the prayer until the Imam comes to the masjid. Everybody clear on this? He says here, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ بَيْنَ الْأَذَانِ وَالْإِقَامَةِ شَيْءٍ, and there wasn't anything between the adhan and the iqamah, meaning of a long period of time. Of a what? A long period of time, but enough to make those two brief what? Rak'atain. Tayyib, khair inshallah. We'll stop here, bidnillah, and if possible, maybe tomorrow we'll be able to finish the chapter of Salatul Musafirin and begin Kitab al-Jumu'ah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.